Hi guys, so happy Thursday. Welcome to our webinar. We're just going to talk about MailChimp today. I guess I don't know how many of you are on right now, but I'm not quite sure how long this will take, so we're just going to jump in and get started anyways. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about MailChimp and how you can design your e-newsletters using this program. And if you guys have any questions throughout, just use the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. And Kaylee is here helping me moderate this, so she will let me know if there's any questions, and we'll just take them as they come in. And also, if this webinar will be recorded, so if you ever want to view it again, you can find it on the Extension Marketing webpage. So let's just jump in and get started here. So we're going to talk about MailChimp. And MailChimp is, they describe it anyways, as an all-in-one marketing platform that helps you manage and talk to your clients and customers. And it also works great as an email list management program. So basically, it's just an online software where you can create your e-newsletters and send it out to your audience. But it's really great and really easy to use. And the best thing about it is that it's actually free. So that's great. So there are some paid plans. But the free plan, you can have up to 2,000 contacts free, which we think works well for most people. I don't know if any of you guys will have a list bigger than that. And up to 10,000 sends per month. And they define sends, it's like an email from how I understand it. So you could send up to 10,000 emails per month, which that's a ton of emails. And I don't know who would ever have to send that many out at one point in time. But if you're interested in paid options, those start at $9.99 a month, and then they range all the way up to basically $300 for the premium plan. But like I said, the free plan will basically have everything you need, and so that's really nice. Constant Contact is another pretty popular e-newsletter program that people use, but that one doesn't have a free version. I think I looked it up earlier today, and their most basic plan starts at about $20 a month. So MailChimp is a really great option to use. And yeah, so basically the best way that I think you can learn how to use MailChimp is just by creating a newsletter. So that's what we're going to do here. Let me jump over into MailChimp. So I'm going to stop the share for a little bit. So you're probably not going to see a screen for a second, but I will share it in just one second. Okay, great. So this is MailChimp. Can you see that? Okay, great. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure you guys could see it. So here is MailChimp. And so let's just jump right in. I already have an account made, so I'm not going to go through that. It's just like making up any other account. So right here, where you can see my mouse, just log in right here. And I've never done any of this. You probably don't need to, but okay, so this is your dashboard or homepage on MailChimp, and mine looks really sad because I have -1 right now, so just ignore that. But this just shows, kind of just gives you a basic overview of all the emails that you've sent out and your audience growth. You can pick during a certain time frame, or it'll just start from when you created your account. I haven't really done anything on mine, so you're not going to see a lot. Like right here, it would typically list all of my campaigns that I've ever created and all that fun stuff, but it's not going to right now just because I haven't actually sent one out. So the first thing that I want to go over, just because it'll make it easier, is how to create your audience and how to import your list into MailChimp, which is super easy. So you would just click up here on the audience tab, and then this is your audience dashboard. So basically right here, you'll see once we get all of our audience, once we get our audience uploaded and we've actually sent a couple newsletters out, this will have some different statistics for us. I think this specific page will show us like what percentage of our audience is actually interacting with our newsletters, what percent of our audience is opening them, and then it'll show another percentage for how many people are clicking through on the links that we're including, and then another one for the top locations of people who are opening our emails. So that's just some good data to know. So here, let's just go in here. So right here under manage contacts, right here, I just go to import contacts. And then what I typically do, you can import contacts all these different ways, but I usually just do the copy and paste from a file. It's super easy. So let me just continue to set up here. And then of course I don't want to use an actual email list because that would be terrible if I sent a fake email out to everyone. So I'm just going to add in one of my other emails. And then, cool. Tags are another thing that you can do. I honestly haven't messed with them very much in MailChimp, but it is an option. Basically, from what I understand, you can add you can just add a tag to your audience to help you categorize different people. I don't know how many of you will actually have to do that, but you can have different tags, like say if you're an extension and you want to have a tag for agriculture or canning, just to like, if you have specific information about these people in your audience, then you can send more specific emails to them instead of broadcasting it to your whole audience. But I haven't messed with that much. Cool, so there's my one email. I forgot, I think I actually created this account with the other email that I put in, so it wouldn't let me add it. But typically you guys will hopefully have a lot more than one, but this is just a good example, I guess. Another good thing about MailChimp is that it works really great as like an email list management. So instead of like manually going through your email list and deleting old contacts or old emails, you know, if you're getting like bounces back, instead of manually doing that, MailChimp actually takes care of all that for you. So if someone unsubscribes from your newsletter, they'll automatically take care of it on their end and you don't have to worry about it, which I think is really convenient. Okay, so here's our email list, super simple. And then let's go create our newsletter now. So you click the campaigns tab, and that's one that I did earlier just to make sure everything was working, which that's like my biggest fear when I'm just doing a demonstration, is that all of a sudden the software is just gonna bug out and I'm not gonna be able to show you guys anything, but hopefully it works. So we're under our campaigns tab. This is just gonna show every email that we've ever made basically. And I'm gonna click create right here and email. And this one I'm just gonna call, give it a different name. Great, and I've already picked a template before, but typically it'll take you to this like template page. And where we only have the free version, I think you only have access to about 4 of those templates, but it's really not a big deal because I just picked the most basic one. That's what it's called. And it's nice because you can edit it however you want, which is super convenient. I just saw a question come up and now I can't get to it. There it is, let's see. Yeah, so I actually read about that too. So Andrea had a question. She said, with the audiences, recently the free version only allows me to have one audience, and I've had to start using the tags to segment my audience. Have you noticed this change? And yeah, after I read up on it, that's what you have to do too. They said MailChimp, they recommend that you only have one audience, because if you have multiple, they can't, I mean, which they've changed it. They only allow you to have one audience now, but that's because it's not able to, like, information from one audience isn't able to share information with another audience, if that makes any sense. So like hypothetically, if you were to have someone unsubscribe from your email list, then that would only affect the list for that specific audience, not the list for your other audience. So then there's just a higher chance of you getting marked as spam, which you'll just get in trouble for. So hopefully that answer made sense. So that's why you have to use tags within your audiences to kind of separate those out. Yeah, let me know if you have another question or if that didn't answer what you wanted. But okay, so back into templates, I just picked the most basic one because really you can edit it to be whatever you want and you can add in a ton of features. So that's what I've done so far. So right here, we'll just click design email first. Oh, here's a template page. Okay, so it actually did take it. So you'll see right here it says upgrade, upgrade to use. So we can't use any of those. You have access to these two and that one. But down here's the basic one, and I think you have access to these two. I always just do the basic one column because it seems to work pretty well for me. Great. So then this is where we'll start. And typically the first thing that I do is I'll go into just this overall design page because this is where I'll set the colors for everything. So for the background style, so when it comes to designing your emails, there's a lot of design tips, and I'll show you guys a good resource for that in a little bit. But something that I recommend looking at is our visual identity guide that Extension has created. I'll actually jump into that really quick. Let me move this around. So here's our visual identity guide, and it's just nice because I mainly just use it for the colors because it just kind of can help you give you a sense of what you want your newsletter to look like. So for this one, I'm just going to use this color for right now, so this teal blue. So let me jump into this campaign builder, and this is going to be the color of our background. Perfect. And then what I want to do, so I don't usually mess with the font. I just leave it what it's set as. You can change the font size in a different section, but I just usually leave it as Arial, but it's whatever you guys want to look and what you want it to look like. Feel free to change. So let me get back up. Okay, so there's the page, and then the other thing that I'll go change is the pre-header. It's that little thing right here where it says view this email in your browser. I'll usually change that color just to make it stand out a little more. So let me jump back into the visual identity guide. And for this one, we'll use Aggie Blue. That's a good color. My screen keeps getting in my way. Okay, so right here, and it's nice, you can just copy and paste the hex code, which, I mean, feel free to use other colors, but I think this is just a good reference for right now. And it's kind of the overall look that Extension's going for. So you'll see that that changed blue, and then I'm actually going to go change the text as well right here. We'll just make that white so it's easy to see. And then after the pre-header, we can go into the footer, and I'm going to change that as well. The footer is all the way down here, and I think if you just make it a different color, it just kind of makes it stand out a little more, which I like. Great, and then I'm going to go change the text color again. Okay, great. So let's get back into content. So the nice thing about MailChimp is it's all just drag and drop. So it's super simple and easy to use. So right here, and I really recommend you do this, you have this place to put in a logo or a header. And the last couple of newsletters that I've helped with, we've actually helped create newsletters or create newsletter headers. So if you guys would want or be interested in something like that, just let me know. I didn't mean for that to do that. Let me get out of that really quick. So I actually just have a header from the last one that we designed that I'm just going to use. We did an email for the Heart team for Extension. And so I'm just going to plug that in really quick. And it's really nice. You just take it and drag and drop. If you guys are interested in this, and if you want to make your own, that's great too. For our dimensions, we made this one 600 pixels by 200 pixels wide, or tall, sorry, 600 pixels wide by 200 pixels tall, I think. And then another thing that I like to do, so right here, this is the edit button. So you can just go in and click that, and then I go to settings, and I like it edge to edge. I just think it looks better, but it's whatever you want to do. So if you're interested in having something like this created, let me know. We've done a couple of them, and we'd be happy to help you with that. And then, so we've added the logo, and it's all super simple. You guys probably won't have very many questions because I feel like the more you get into it, the more questions you'll actually have. So right here, this is just giving us an example of what we can do with it. So just like kind of going into this just really briefly, I really recommend keeping your newsletters really like short and simple and straight to the point, just because people they're not going to read something that's really long. So I would just work on keeping it short. And if you have a lot of information to send out, consider sending that out in separate emails throughout the week, or sending out an email once a week, something like that. But just try to keep them from being crazy long, because people don't read that. Okay, so then they've already kind of pre-formatted this, which is nice, but of course you can change whatever you want. So let's go into, I don't really want to worry about the text right now, but let's just look at some things that you can add. So you'll see right here you have a bunch of different options for images, dividers, image groups, images with captions, buttons, footer. They automatically add that, so you shouldn't really need to worry about adding a footer. But let's just go ahead and look at what it would be like to add an image. So you'll see whenever you drag and drop anything, the blue parts that it's highlighting, that's where it's going to put it. Which that's probably my only thing that I don't necessarily love about MailChimp, is I feel like in Constant Contact, when I've done newsletters there, I kind of have more freedom to put the pictures where I want. Like if I have a longer article, like one article, and I want to put the picture kind of in the middle and have it be like left justified or something like that. I don't necessarily have that option here, because it'll only let me put it above or below the article, but it's really not too big of a deal. And it's still easy to use. So I just have this random picture. None of this news article is really going to make that much sense, but we'll just go through it anyways. So here's this picture of the reds, and I'll just drag and drop that in there. And it's going to go ahead and upload that. So there it is. And you can see that's really big. You probably don't want your picture to be that big. And I also don't necessarily love how MailChimp makes you format your images. It's kind of a pain. I'll just jump in and show you. So the thing that I don't like is if you ever go, say you go a lot smaller than this, once you've gone smaller, you can't make it big again. So then you just have to re-upload your picture if you don't like how small you've made it. But for this one, let's just make it, I mean, it's hard to say what the dimensions need to be. It's really just whatever looks good for your newsletter that you're doing. So let's just pretend we'll just do 250. That's not it, 250. We'll just leave it out. So it's automatically doing that. Or you can always do it this way too. But we'll just let it do that, and we'll just see what that looks like. Cool. So that's smaller. I don't know if I would leave it that small, but that's just what it's going to be for now. And then, so let's save and close that. And then another thing that you can do, so here's box text. I like to use this sometimes to actually do my headline in, because I think it stands out. So we could just, and then we can of course make that bigger. So let's just, and then right here is where you do all your changing, and you can do more in-depth settings. So this is where you'll always go to change the color. So I'm going to change this to the Aggie blue again. And yeah, I feel like it makes it stand out a little more. But there's just a ton of options, and just kind of figure out what works best for you. So I'm going to take this out because we don't need that anymore. So here is this is just one place where you can add text that it just did it for us. Let me change this so it's not looking weird. Or it's just going to keep it looking weird. I'm just going to delete all of it. How about that? And then let me just make that smaller. They say the recommended, what I looked at this morning, was that they recommend using 14 to 16 point font just so it's easy to use. Let me put something bigger. I just have some Lorem Ipsum text that we'll just plug in there just so it kind of fills the space up a little better than that. And that's a lot bigger than we want. So let's just put that at 14. And I'm not quite sure why it's looking like it's bolded in there, because it's not supposed to be, but it's not a big deal. Cool, so there would be your article. And like I said, I don't recommend copying and pasting a full article or getting too crazy, because people just aren't going to read it. So what you can do is they have this button feature right here. And so I usually just like to drop one right there, and then you can go over to the editor and you can say depends on what your call to action is, which I also recommend including a call to action in every newsletter, but you can change this to read more here. and then have it linked to a web address. And then for this one, we'll just do extension. And then I want to go in and change the style of it again. I'm going to just change this to Aggie Blue per usual because I just already have it ready. Maybe it doesn't want to work. Okay. Okay, great. And then you can also make it bigger if you want. So we'll just make it a little bigger. Let's go like, sure, we'll just leave it at that. And then the nice thing is you can, right here, you can check this and apply these same settings to all of your button blocks so you don't have to go in and reformat every one, which is nice just to keep it consistent and keep it looking the same. So we'll save and close that. And then right here, this is nice. This is your, you don't have to keep this, but it's a good place to have like your social media if you have a Facebook or a Twitter or a website or anything that you really want to link people to. So they already include it for you. And then right here, you can just include the links for every different platform that you have going on. And you can actually add another one. So like I probably would want to add Instagram. So bam, there it is. And then you can go into style and here you can change it and get as creative as you want to. I haven't really messed with the style very much for the social media icons, but I do go into settings and you can change the layout. So you can have it look like that, or I don't know, any of these buttons. We'll just pick one. I generally think I do this one. And then you can change. Really, they can look however you want them to look, but there's some fun options there. So you can really customize it and make it your own. And then the last thing you have to include, it's actually mandatory on all MailChimp newsletters, is the footer. And sometimes it can be a little weird when you're going in here because if you delete a certain tag, it'll kind of mess up that footer a little bit, but it'll give you a warning notice if you've done that. And it'll kind of tell you what to go in and go fix. So usually what we always put, we just put 2019 USU extension. And we can delete that. And this we'll just put and then you have to leave this little section right here that says want to change how you receive your emails. You have to leave that in there. You can't take it out, but it's also super helpful because this is where if people want to unsubscribe from your newsletter, which hopefully they don't, but if they do, this is where they can click it and MailChimp will automatically take care of it for you. So you won't have to worry about it, which is nice. Okay, so we can save and close that. It should have worked. It hasn't given me a warning that it didn't work, so that was nice. Right, so there's just a really rough, really like quick and dirty way that you can create a newsletter. If you have another section, like say you want to add another section, which would be fine. I don't know if that would be getting too long yet. I would add another divider just to kind of separate things out. So you can actually just duplicate that to make it easy. And then pull it down to go where you want it to. Hopefully that puts it in the right space. Yeah, so then this would just be and then drag and drop your text box just below, which I guess I can show too really quick. So then that would go there. And then you would add just your text and your pictures and wherever you see fit. Another thing that I also like, Whitespace is good. And I think it looks really nice. So like if you wanted to add more white space between anything, what you could do is you can just add a divider. So that just drops it right there. And I don't really like the line in the middle, not just if I just want it to be plain white, right? So I usually take it off. And then I just change this to like 5. And then, so it just gives you like a little bit more space between it. You can also use the dividers, like if you don't want to use the box text like I did right here, you can use the dividers just to separate it out. And then you could just have your title down right here. So hopefully all this makes sense. It's super easy to use, and it doesn't take too long. And the other nice thing that you can do is once you get an email design that you like, you can actually save it as a template, so you don't have to go in and redesign the same email over and over, which I think is really convenient. So say I like this one, I'm really happy with it, and it's just what I want to keep using. So you just click up here, save as a template, and I'm just going to call it extension. And then, great, so it's under templates, so I can just go in and continually use that over and over, which is really convenient. And let's just also pretend for a second that this is ready to send out. So what you should do is go to the preview and test tab. Right here, you can enter preview mode, and just, this is what it's going to look like when people see it. And then it's also nice to see what it's going to look like in mobile view, because a lot of people just check their email on their phone, right? So I would recommend checking that just to make sure nothing looks that funky. And then also always send out a test email. I would send one to yourself and then send it to somebody else as well, so that they can proof it for you, to make sure that there's nothing crazy going on. That's just always a good idea and a good habit to get into, is having another set of eyes look at your newsletter before you send it out. So we'll just pretend that we've done all that already. And let's say we're ready to send it. So we've saved and we've closed it. Oh, it's just mad at me because I didn't change the text. So let me change that, which is nice. Right here, it'll give you any warning if one of your links isn't working. If you haven't changed the text, it'll let you know, so you don't send out like a blank email. Okay. So let's just go back so it can't be mad at us. Okay, great. And so right here, this is where you can add your recipient. So I would go choose my audience, and this is it. So just save that, and then this is the email that it is getting sent from. So it's just going to look like it came from me. And then the subject line for this campaign, we'll just call it MailChimp training. Okay, great. So everything should be ready to go from here. So what you do, you can schedule it to go out at a certain time if you want, where you can just send it automatically. So if I just am ready to send it right now, here it comes, send now. And then that's it, really super easy. And then from here, you can, so say it's been sent out, it's been going for a couple days, I can go back into my dashboard right here, and it will kind of, see, it's not going to show anything, so I don't have it now, but now you can scroll down to get your campaign engagement data. And so it's just going to show you how many people opened it, how many people clicked it, which is just good to know, because then you know if you need to change anything, right, or if like what you're doing is working good. So there's a little overview on that, and here's how you can access your templates, just in case you want to change anything. So here's this. So say I'm ready to create my next newsletter and I want to use it. I will just click this little button right here and push create campaign. And then from here, it's ready to go, and just click, it says resolve right now because it has that unedited text in there right now, and then you can just go in, edit whatever you want, give it a new title, and make sure you change the subject line, and that make sure you're sending it to the right people that you want to send it to. But other than that, it's good to go, and you can find it just on your campaign's homepage, and you can access it from just right here from your homepage. So that's just like a really quick rundown on MailChimp. Like I mentioned earlier, it's really useful for just email list management in general. It's a lot easier to manage your email list through here than it is to go and be doing it by hand in Excel or in Word or anything like that. What's another nice thing, so say you know you have an updated list, what I would do, and hopefully I'm not telling you guys wrong, but I've done this before and it's worked for me, is you can just take that list and completely upload it into your audience page. And if you have any of the same email addresses, it will delete any of the duplicates. So it won't let you have that person in there twice. So they're not going to be getting 2 emails, and they're not going to be as likely to mark you as spam, because nobody wants 2 emails that are the exact same from the same person, right? So it's really great for managing duplicates and making sure your unsubscribers are getting off of your lists and stuff like that. It's just a lot easier than doing it by hand. As far as statistics go, so I tried to look up some data on when is the best time to send emails. And basically, there's not really one straight answer because everyone's so different and all that. But what I found, I actually used MailChimp. I found them, or a study that they did on it, which I think they're pretty reliable. They're one of the top email marketing places. They said that from their study that Tuesdays and Thursdays were the best time to send emails. But actually, let me jump into my PowerPoint that I had. I had a couple graphs on here, and I'll just show you really quick because you'll be able to see that there really wasn't a big difference. So they said that from their study, they found that Tuesday and Thursday were the most optimal time to send emails to your audience. But Wednesday or Monday and Wednesday really closely follow behind that. Like there's not a huge difference right there. But there is a huge difference once you hit Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if it were me, I would really avoid sending emails during the weekend because they're doing other things, and the last thing they really want to be doing is checking their email. So I would avoid that if all possible. So, and then they said they actually broke it down by time as well. And what they found right here is that any time between, I think they said 10 and 11. You can't see the PowerPoint. Hold on, I forgot you guys can't see the PowerPoint. Let me go share it. Okay, my bad, sorry guys. So right here you can see this is where, just like as a quick overview, this is where they said Tuesday and Thursday were the best time to send your email. But as you can see, there's not a huge difference between Tuesday and Thursday and Monday and Wednesday. So I don't think it's anything that's going to make or break the success of your email campaign. And then right here, you can see they broke it down by the optimal hour of the day. And they said from their research that 10 and 11 seemed to be the best time where people were most likely to check their email. But I mean, once again, there's not a major difference. So overall, I would just recommend sending it sometime during the work week, preferably like mid-morning. Is what their data shows anyways, and definitely not on the weekends unless like some people like to send their emails out, like do a newsletter campaign where they send it out the first of every month. And in order to maintain consistency, if the first of the month falls on a Saturday, then you could go ahead and still send it out. But the data just shows that it's better to send it out on a weekday when people are looking at their email. And they had a little quote in there, which I thought was interesting. They said, there's no one time during the day when everyone or even half of everyone drops what they're doing to check their email and says, wow, like now is the time. I absolutely have to check my email right now. Like, this is it. This is the time. No one really does that. They're kind of just checking it throughout the day. So it's really hard to tell when is the best time to do it. And it's going to be different for every campaign. So maybe just do a couple different tests for yourself. If you're getting more engagement with your emails that you send out in the afternoon, then that's awesome. And that's what works better for you. But just give it all a try and see what works best. And that's really all that I had. Does anybody have any questions about MailChimp and creating newsletters or any other features that are in it? I'm definitely not, I'm not a MailChimp expert by like any way, but I'm learning about it and it's nice to use. I really like it. So it's pretty handy. But if anybody has any questions, we'll just stay on for a few minutes and I'll answer. So there's one that popped up. Let's see. Oh, great. Yeah, I'm glad you said that. So Andrea asked, do you know how to have people sign up for a newsletter on their own rather than importing a list? Which I'm not going to get too crazy into that because Kirk, our digital marketing manager, is actually going to do a webinar on that next week. He's going to do a webinar on how to get people to opt into your newsletters, which is super helpful. I know you can, in MailChimp, there is ways that you can create it, but for extension, we're going to try to you can create a landing page where people can opt in to your newsletter and join your list, which is nice because then MailChimp automatically updates that as well. But we have another program that we're going to use, and Kirk knows more of the details on that, so I don't want to get too crazy into it. It's called Drip. I think he's done a webinar on it before, but basically that's the program that we'll use to have people opt in to your newsletters. And then from there, we will help you import those lists into MailChimp. which it should be super. I think it should just be pretty seamlessly. Once again, I don't know the details, but tune in next week because Kurt's going to talk more about getting people to opt in. So that'll be great. Any other questions? Let me close out of there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I didn't tell you that I should be telling you guys. Let me just, I guess before we go, I'll give you some really quick overall design tips. I actually forgot to show you guys that. MailChimp has a really nice, I didn't mean to do that, a nice email design guide. And I would recommend looking at this because it just gives you a really quick overview on everything that you need when it comes to designing your emails. So it talks about content and your color identity and different templates that you can use. And if I was just going to look over them really quickly, I would say some of the top ones are be concise, keep it, like I said earlier, keep it short and simple and to the point, and put your most important things at the top of your email and end with the least important because people are more likely to read what's at the top. And then the other one I liked was the color. And that's why I think the visual identity guide can really come in handy when it comes to creating your emails, because just don't get too crazy and don't use crazy colors. And right here, I agree with what they say, just to choose 1 or 2 colors for your emails and don't get crazy. So usually and most of the ones that I've done, I've used like Aggie blue and the lighter blue, and I think I've thrown the tan in, and I use some combination of those, but of course, feel free to make it your own, but don't be using like yellow with red and don't make it crazy. So, and then separating your header and footers, because I think it makes it stand out. So I think those are probably some of the most important design tips, but I can send this link out to anyone who'd be interested in it. And then MailChimp also has, feel free to email me with any questions you may have and I'll help you out. But MailChimp also has really great tutorials and guides on basically everything from creating tags to segmenting your audience to anything, to resizing your pictures, all of it. So I would also recommend checking out their website as well. So yeah, if there's no other questions, I think we'll just sign off and then make sure you tune in for the webinar next week, because Kirk will be talking about how to get people to opt into your newsletter, which will be super helpful, and it's kind of the second part to this. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and this webinar will be recorded if you're interested in seeing it again, and have a great Thursday. So we will see you guys later.